Welcome to another edition of Hey Bobby with Senior VP of the Cleveland Guardians, Bob DiBiasio, with us at WAKR. And Bobby, I guess I want to start. You and I have talked a lot about rule changes in the last couple of years, and how I think both you and I are in agreement here that we've really liked the rule changes. The speed of play has helped out. I liked a lot of the things that they've added. Even the runner at second base, which took us a little time to get used to. I like it now. My question to you, because of certainly your contacts and talking to people in baseball, what is next? What are they talking about as far as rule changes in Major League Baseball?
Good morning, Ray. One of the things that I think the Commissioner of Baseball and the competition committee has done is, hit a grand slam. Everything they've done has worked. The pace of play with the pitch clock, the no shift, infielders, two on the left side of second base, two on the right, have to have their feet in the dirt. Um, and it's also a batter clock, not just a pitcher's clock. Batter has to be in by 8 seconds and be ready. Um, so all the things that they've done, the larger bases, adding more stolen base attempts, and have just added such tremendous athleticism, activity. We were a game that was nothing but strikeouts, home runs, and walks, and that was really boring for a long time. And it was a good thing because baseball is probably the one sport that takes a little longer to make changes because of the traditionalists that we all are, and we love our game that's been around longer than any other. So, what's next is the automated strike zone. Now, when I say that, people need to understand the umpire behind home plate is still in charge. There is no buzzer in his face mask or in his earpiece that says whether it's a ball or strike and he reacts to it. There's none of that. None of that. The umpire is still in charge. What it is that the pitcher, the catcher, and the hitter, they're the only three people who could challenge a ball or strike call. We were able in spring training this year in Goodyear, we were one of the ballparks that had the automated strike zone implemented at the ballpark. And it was very interesting because Terry Francona, managing the Cincinnati Reds, told his players, I don't ever want to see you tapping your head and challenging a call because we're not playing with those rules in 2025. I don't want you thinking about it. So just erase it from your heads. We'll deal with it when it's implemented. Where Stephen Vogt was completely the opposite. He goes, we're not going to save it till the seventh, eighth inning. If you feel you want to challenge a call as a hitter, pitcher, or catcher, feel free to do so. So 180-degree difference by the two managers. It took 5 seconds to challenge a call. You don't have time to look in the dugout and look at video replay or any of that. So it's truly the hitter, the catcher, and the pitcher are the only three. And up on the scoreboard to be the strike zone, and it'll show where the ball. And if you ever watch tennis and the ball lands and any part of the tennis ball is on the line, it's in. Or out. I can't remember tennis, but um, in our business, if it's anywhere touching the strike zone, even the just little bit of the part of the baseball touching the strike zone, it's a strike. And I thought it was great. So before we move off that one, and I think it's coming. I don't know if it's next year, but it's coming for sure. It's being utilized in AAA. It's been utilized in the minor leagues, which is baseball's way of experimenting in the minor leagues for 3, 4 years to make sure they have it right. And then when those players get to the big leagues, they've played under all those rules, so it's no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
We had an issue in one of the first games in spring training. We're beating the LA Angels 14-2. Top of nine, 2 outs, 2 strikes. Umpire rings the kid up. He challenges. 14-2, top of nine. He challenges. Next pitch, gets a single. Next pitch, pop up, game over. Our reporters are asking Stephen Vogt about it. And Stephen said, hey, do you know who that kid is that challenged the call? And one of our reporters said, yes. He was a former #1 draft pick of the Angels. And Steven said, yeah, absolutely. And that kid's trying to make the baseball team. And he wants to show his coaching staff he's got strike discipline. He's got plate discipline. He didn't care what the score was. He's in spring training trying to show that he's not swinging at balls out of the strike zone. So I applaud him for that.
Mhm.
And then it became the discussion the next morning in the press room about should there be a 10-run rule.
Bobby, when they make challenges, and I know that they probably haven't sifted through this yet, but I mean, is there endless amount of challenges a guy can, or a team, or
Two.
two? Okay.
Two max.
Okay.
And if you're right, you retain it. If you're wrong, you lose it. And so, yeah, we've had some interesting discussions. A lot of our writers talked with Mr. Tracy Down as our skipper in Columbus, who had been playing under those rules the last year or two. And whether or not you determine, is it situational, 2 outs, bases loaded, and it's an impactful wrong call, you believe, as a pitcher, catcher, or hitter, or do you wait till the seventh inning on to utilize it? You may never get a chance. So it's pretty interesting, but 2 chances.
My final question on this topic is fast forward 10, 15 years from now, will we have umpires?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't believe that they'll ever. I think this system, instead of robotics, cameras doing it, I just don't think, can never say never, but I just don't ever think our game will get away from the human element.
Okay. Senior VP.
It'll just be assisted by the technology that is certainly available and you need to utilize, but the human element still needs to be front and center.
Senior VP with the Guardians, Bob DiBiasio with, hey, Bobby. Bobby, it was this week, 1997, that Albert Belle had his 27-game hitting streak snapped. And Albert Belle, you and I have talked about so many of those guys of the 90s and great Guardians/Indians players through history. Albert Belle, for about a 5 to 6 year span with our club, was maybe the toughest out in Major League Baseball. And he was also a tough guy and sometimes difficult for many to get along with. But Albert Belle was quite a ball player for us on those teams in the 90s and a ferocious hitter. And I know obviously you worked with Albert a little bit, and I'm sure you appreciate what he did at the batter's box and as a player.
One of the most feared, if not the most feared slugger in the 1990s. I mean, just remarkable. His work ethic, Ray, was off the charts. He absolutely loved hitting. We've talked about Jim Thome and Carlos Baerga and Manny Ramirez and Kenny Lofton and that whole crew, being blessed that Charlie Manuel was their hitting coach, and the same with Albert. Charlie was all about hitting 24/7, and so was Albert, and so was Manny, so was Jimmy. So they spent an awful long time together, a soft toss off a tee, just honing that craft. And, Albert, 12 years in the big leagues, 8 with us. Then he played 2 with the White Sox and 2 with the Baltimore Orioles until a hip injury knocked him out of baseball. But 5-time All-Star, 4 straight All-Star seasons with us. His top 3 3 years MVP voting. 95 came in second to move on, which was a travesty. It made no sense that he didn't win the American League MVP, having 52 doubles and 50 homers, the first 50-50 guy in power, and only in 144 games. So a 95 season, they played 144 games and they had 52 doubles and 50 homers. Absolutely remarkable. He won 4 Silver Slugger awards. He, what, 3 times led the league in RBIs. I think 148 to 96 his last year with us. Just a remarkable, feared, intense. The one thing about Albert is pregame had to learn, especially a guy like me, in that clubhouse, asking players to do certain things. He put blinders on at a certain point, and anybody tried to penetrate his intensity and focus for that night's game or that day's game, you got your head chewed off. Don't mess, because he was getting prepared. And that's just some athletes. Charlie Nagy, for example, you could talk to him a half hour before he was going out to pitch, and he goes and wins 15 plus games every year. And Carlos, same way. You could talk to Carlos 20 minutes before game time, to remind him about a pregame ceremony or whatever, and he was cool with it. Albert, he was intense, and I think that's why he had such um, incredible greatness. In 91, he hit 28 homers. I looked it up this morning. He had 28 homers in 91, and then he had 8 straight years of 30 or more homers. He had 9 straight years of 100 or more RBIs.
Wow.
It's a shame because his numbers are better than Kirby Puckett's, and he's in the Hall of Fame, and Albert isn't. And that's part of unfortunate way he handled himself, especially around the media.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And you being in, well, you work with us in the media. That was my question. Was that a detriment of getting him into the Hall of Fame?
I think so. Especially the MVP in 95. I think there was some issues there that some guys held it against him, that he wasn't as approachable or as professional as they wanted him to be, which again, I'm not so sure. He didn't do anything wrong other than the fact that, he was friendly to a few media, but not enough, I guess.
My final thing with Albert is, can you imagine if this guy was healthy for, let's say, 15, 16 years?
Oh my goodness.
What those numbers would look like?
You look at Shohei Ohtani and his OPS of up over 1,000. Albert did it 3 times. He was at 900. I think his career OPS, even in his last couple of years when he was really struggling with injury, his career OPS is over 900 or something, on base plus slugging. So just a remarkable hitter. Again, the most one of, if not the most feared hitter in the 90s, anchored our most remarkable offense, magical mid 90s clubs. And he was the anchor. He was the number 4 hitter, and he played every day. You couldn't get him out of the lineup. Grover was pretty blessed because that was a ball club that everybody wanted to play every day. So he could write their names in and then have to argue with them whether or not they had a day off, because none of them. It's like Hosey right now. You don't have him in the lineup, and Hosey will walk into Stephen Vogt or Tito's office and say, "Hey, I'm in the lineup today." And then the argument say, "Well, you played 16 days in a row. You need a breather." That's why Stephen Vogt right now is really, most every Sunday has him DHing
Mhm.
after a Saturday night game, just to keep Hosey healthy. But just like Albert sits atop a lot of the in the top spots of all of our offensive categories. Jose's on his heels and has passed him in a few of them already.
Well, we continue the series with the Yanks tonight. We got Houston this weekend, and then Tito and his Reds come in next week.
Yep, we got Houston and the Reds. It's funny we have a quick 3 game road trip to New York, and then we come home for 6, and then we head back out. So um, June isn't going to be as nuts as May. May was really a difficult, and we got through at 14-13. We had a winning record in the month of May, which we saw a lot of heavy hitters that month, and including 4 at Detroit. And so let's hope we can keep it rolling, because if we win 15 games, as we go through the following 4 months of the season, that's a 90+ win season, and that gives you a sense if the postseason were today, we're in it.
Yeah, right now, if you look in the American League, only the Tigers and Yankees have a
Yep.
better record than our Guardians right now in the American League. Bobby, as always, my friend, thanks for joining us. He is the senior VP of the Cleveland Guardians, Bob DiBiasio, and he joins us each week with Hey Bobby. Bobby, as my friend, thank you again. Appreciate it. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you, Ray. Good to see you. Pizza next week. Take care.